How to effectively persuade. I have a saying that I came up with is that I think it's original. I read so much stuff. Hopefully it is original. If it's not, please let me know. That whenever two people come into contact in a significant way, that's important, in a significant way, in good faith, and that's very important, because they have to be open to each other. If it's not good faith, they won't be open to each other. Then the one that is more certain will influence to a much more significant degree the one that is less certain. Let me repeat that. I don't know if it'll be word for word, but whenever two people come into contact in a significant way, in good faith, the one who is more certain will influence to a much more significant degree the one who is less certain. Certainty is the key to persuasion, but I want to explain what certainty is because I think a lot of people misunderstand it. Certainty is not like big-headedness, argumentativeness, affirmations, or a lot of other things. To convince other people, to persuade other people, first you have to persuade yourself, because certainty comes from being persuaded yourself. That, like, if you really just believe something, like, have you ever been with a person and no matter what you say, they just have their own belief, and sometimes it's rigidity. I'm not talking about that. Sometimes it's lack of open-mindedness, but sometimes it's, what I'm talking about is something that's really well thought out and like a core belief or principle to the person. So how do you get that? How do you convince yourself so that you can convince other people? And part of like convincing yourself is that it's pretty much most of the time not even that important to convince other people, because if you have to convince other people, then a lot of times you're trying to convince yourself. So what leads to that kind of certainty? The first thing is that it has to be true, because you can tell yourself things that are not true, and a lot of people believe things that are kind of like either delusional or not really that self-aware. But over time, reality sets in and kind of chips away at your beliefs that are not grounded in reality. So even if on the surface you kind of believe something, but it's not really true, or it's only partially true, then subconsciously you're going to know the truth, that like reality is showing you and telling you by your experiences and what other people are telling you that it's not really true. So to be really certain of something so you can be persuasive, it has to be true. The other thing is that I was saying the other thing, but another thing is that it has to be integral or core to your identity, because we always act according to our identity. I described that at length in our last podcast. And for example, most people are about as unhappy, famously, or unhappy as they choose to be. If happiness is part of your core identity, happiness is a decision, you're just going to be happy, and the same with unhappy. Some people are unhappy no matter what happens to them. Obviously, there's degrees in between. But, whether you look for, I call it confirmation bias. Whether you look for people to be angry or people to be nice, you're going to find a lot of either one that you're looking for. So to be persuasive, it has to be part of your identity, because when it's part of your identity, it's going to be something that you just naturally integrate and promote. Another aspect to being persuasive is, in my mind, not everyone might agree with this, but to be of service. Because what happens is money is an expression of value. And I was talking a little bit about this with Aaron Doty, that he was saying his YouTube videos became much more popular when he started focusing on not just like specific topics that were popular, but that things that he could provide the most value on personally. And I do the same thing. Like, I have a list of 5 or 6 topics that I may or may not do next as YouTube videos over time. And each one I think to myself, like, what is it, something that I really understand at a deep level, that is something that solves a problem for someone else, solves a question for someone else that's meaningful. Peter Thiel said, what do you understand, and I'm paraphrasing him, what do you know that other people think is wrong but is correct? That's called like contrarian by definition. So something adds more value if a lot of people don't know it. Like if it's just a trite thing that everybody knows and you know it also, like, yeah, you can share it with them, but they can get it a million other places. But if you have like a kind of a somewhat unique idea, insight that has value that other people, haven't realized, that's very persuasive. Because obviously, they say all great ideas get ridiculed and then there's a whole series of things and finally it's accepted. But you're more persuasive, you're more convincing if you've thought things through at a deeper level. It's kind of like levels of the onion that, a lot of people are living at the first or second layer or the third layer. If you've gone down to the 10th layer, then you understand the 7th, 8th, 9th layers because you've experienced it where other people haven't. So obviously most layers of an onion look similar, but in life there's all these different layers, of experience that, are unique. And if you've done something significant, you understand like all the pitfalls and obstacles that you had to face to go into that. So it's really important to do something that has value that's not obvious. And I'll leave it there for now.